Okay, hey guys, the good captain here. This is going to be a bit of a longer video. This is my second recording. The first one went way too long, so I am going to shorten this up a bit. This was a very active turn, and I would advertise this as kind of the fun aspect of what makes East and West unique. I'll try to very quickly blast through the NATO round 3 and the Soviet round 4. Okay, Western Europe purchases 7 infantry and then makes 3 attacks. One is at Turkey with a seaborne invasion of Turkey, so 2 infantry and 2 fighters hitting Turkey, and one is attack to Turkmenistan. And the third one, and the most interesting to me, is this push into Yugoslavia. This is a heck of a risk, and I'll take a quick 30 seconds and discuss why. What ends up happening is this 11 infantry scores. Okay, so just so you understand the math here, there's a 10% chance that 11 infantry kill 4 pieces on the first round, and that's bad because then, or at least ostensibly, it's bad because now almost the entire army of one color of these Fruit Loops on defense can be wiped out, and so you're hoping for 1 or 2 kills, and then the enemy can get 1 or 2 kills. So I'm not quite sure. The number you're looking for as the Soviets is 3, or as the Western Europeans is 3, and then of course you hope you get none back. You don't get hit back, and that's exactly what happened. You couldn't have written a better result. So good move on the part of my enemy, or on my opponent, I should say, and then the wherewithal to retreat. So he just blasts 3 Soviets in Yugoslavia and pulls back. Risky move, but it was made, and it worked out really well, really, really well. Turkey also, there's a cruiser offshore that connected, and that changes the math quite a bit. When you have, here it is. When you have 2 infantry and 2 fighters against 2 infantry, but one gets vaporized by a cruiser before the battle begins, that's a completely different. It's a now and then high 90% chance that that gets captured successfully, as opposed to something in the 80s. And then Turkmenistan, again, this is a fairly, there's risk in this attack. It's something like, again, a low 80s or high 70s. I think it's a low 70s, right, percent chance that there's only a tank left. And the Soviets performed poorly all around. No hits in Turkey, no hits in Yugoslavia, 1 hit in Turkmenistan. So the Western Europeans, instead of pulling off 21, will pull off 26. And that's it. We go to UK. The UK missed their spy roll, purchase 11 infantry, and they too make a pretty bold, although slightly less bold, but aggressive attacks. Here we are. This first one is like this weird airborne attack where my opponent decided to load up 2 transports with paratroopers, so 2 infantry and 2 fighters essentially attacking Georgia. So 2 infantry and 2 fighters against 2 infantry. Again, it's not crazy to have for that battle to go sideways, but it ends up going in favor of the British, and they only lose 1 piece and kill the 2 Soviets defending it, and they pick up those 3 IPCs. And of course, then they mop up Yugoslavia as well. The Soviets do no damage there either. The last thing they do is an offshore raid. So this is a peace swap. You can use the battleship and cruiser. When you do an amphibious assault, trade pieces, so the Soviets go down 1, the British go down 1. Okay, so there we go. Then we go to the US turn. The US spy is successful. And this was interesting. The UK spy was placed on counter intel, and the US spy was placed on diplomacy. And the US spy broke through, and my opponent decided to bring Spain into the fight. It's a 3 IPC value territory, and all the gear thereon is converted to American. So, snap of the fingers, right at the top of the turn, 4 infantry, a tank, and a fighter suddenly appear, and this is going to be a problem right away. They're thrown immediately into a counterattack into Switzerland, and this is a very, again, if this is probably arguably riskier than anything else, because this battle calculator with 13 infantry, 3 tanks, and 3 fighters, or 4 fighters, excuse me, comes out to 50-50. And with Soviet infantry being only 2 IPCs, it's a dead even TUV with a normal battle calculator. This means it's a negative TUV for NATO, but he moves on it anyway, and scores +3 in a single round of combat, hitting 9 Soviet infantry, and the Soviets hit their numbers on the way back. So it ends up being still in favor of the Soviets after they retreat, but the NATO loses 7 infantry, and the Soviets lose 9 infantry. And then the last move was that the Americans nuke Western Germany and blast 5 infantry. That's how many losses have to be taken when one of these detonates. And there's a couple other side effects from this. The value of the territory goes from 4 to 3, so I can only place 3 infantry there on my next turn, and the Soviet fighters are stuck. The electromagnetic pulse freezes them in place for a turn. And the bomber escapes the blast roll, so everything's gone quite well for NATO throughout its turn until this point. Oh, and they resecured South Korea, but that was to be expected. And now things start to go a little sideways. It is in fact true that 55% of the time you're NATO and you drop a nuke, something crummy happens 55% of the time. So if something crummy didn't happen, you're in a minority, right? And the crummy thing that happens, there's a nuclear complications table. You have to roll 2 dice to see what happens. And the Arab alliance becomes outraged. And so we go to the third dimension bracket over here where these gray tables are, is the third dimension. We see this influence part. And the Arab League moves over to the Soviet side by 1 pip. Now, I didn't know this, and this is going to be an attaboy to my opponent, the Janus. But that's enough to close the Suez Canal to NATO. You tick them off, and that's apparently one thing that happens. And so hats off to my opponent. I think that's a class act. He just put it in big bold letters right there. Suez Canal closed to NATO. So despite the mess the Soviets are kind of in at this point, that is not a bad thing. That there was a lot of this building up of infrastructure around these transports and builds and whatnot, and moving things into Pakistan, and that's not a bad thing, okay? And then we get to the top of the Soviet turn, and before we do purchases, I roll for my spies, right? I have counter intel. I have 2 spies that can do that, plus the free counter intel roll. So I roll all 3, and I got super lucky and rolled 2 1s. So both NATO spies, the whole spying table is now Soviet. All right, going into turn 4, it's occupied only by the Soviets. We move to the free tech roll, and this would have been the turn to really develop the nuke. As the Soviet player, we have the money, we have the means. It's time to get the nuke. After 4 turns, highly likely you have the nuke after needing only a pair of 2s in 4 turns, or even 1 single 1, and we do not get a 2 or a 1. So we're a little behind in that part of this third dimension. But we go into the turn with a sober outlook. This is a very dynamic board right now. It's not clear to me what's going on and where it should be going on, but I'm looking back now at the Soviet 3 combat move, and I might pin this because I had in fact, I'll just pull this up. Yeah, this would have been it's in the 80s, without retreat for air. It would have been a narrow win, but it's a nice TUV swing, especially with the cheap Russian infantry. This would have been in the close to 50 TUV, 82% win. Units left if attacker 1 would be 8. So yeah, it would cost us everything but air, probably, to pull that off, or close to it. And there's a chance, of course, that it blows up in the face of the Soviets, and that's why I didn't do it. I thought I could probably get a better deal, but maybe that was the better deal. I don't know. I'm not an expert with this game. This is sort of a sideshow project of mine, but that's something that I like to keep. I'll keep that in mind, depending on the result of this game and going forward in future games. I'm going to keep those percentages in mind because I could have brought more to bear. I Could have positioned the fighters differently to bring in a couple more pieces, and that can sometimes have a big effect. But yeah, we're okay. We'll make do with this. Let's continue. And the purchase is going to be a max infantry build. I deliberated on buying something other than infantry, but I think we can make this work. I think that maybe we focus on consolidating interior lines and setting up for the turn when we have the nuke. In other words, forward investment, right? But the turn we buy the nuke, it's going to be expensive. So let's bulk up while we can. So let's spend it all and buy max infantry. Okay, for combat move, we are going to take the Greek Soviet and hit the Yugoslavia, British troop in Yugoslavia, and move all the armor, heavy and standard, out of Switzerland and deal with that threat. In Romania, we're going to split off 2 of these pieces, load them on the Soviet transport in the Black Sea, and dump them into Turkey, activating the cruiser to do an offshore. We're going to take 2 of these fighters in Ukraine and add them to Turkey, and I believe we're going to throw the bomber in there as well. I have to think on that. Okay, both troops out of Russia hit Georgia. One of the heavy armors hits Georgia, and I'll put 2 of the standard armors in Georgia, so that should definitely go down in one shot. Yeah, I'll throw the bomber into Turkey. Okay, next, Kazakhstan. 1 infantry here, 2 infantry here. Yeah, 2 infantry and the armor, and let's throw a fighter. And let's throw another fighter in at Turkey, I think. Okay, and then South Korea. We're just going to throw the whole. We don't want to mess around with it. Yeah. Yeah. I just don't want to. Maybe just 2. Let's be bold. I don't know why, but let's be bold. I almost made a mistake here. Both these fighters hit. Yeah, right. Because there's a 10% chance or 11% chance that 2 infantry can hit twice, and then we wouldn't have anything to secure Turkey with. So the armor from Iran needs to be in Turkey. Okay, one last. The heavy armor from Ukraine moves 1, 2 into Yugoslavia. So yeah, we're gonna stomp him. Okay, that should give us some strategic flexibility in the non-combat movement phase based on results. Let's move to combat. Okay, we're gonna kick this off with USSR attacks Yugoslavia. This is a stomp. Yeah, so does he hit us back is the main question. And here we roll. No. Adjust IPCs. And move to the next. Looks like Turkey's on the block. Okay, here we are. We're really hoping the cruiser connects and makes this a moot point. He does not connect, but everybody else did. So those 2 are down. Okay, and 2 back, so I think it's a 54% chance. Oh, and they both missed. So there are overall the NATO's down by 1 so far. Okay, we adjust. Looks like Georgia's next. This is also a stomp. 2 armor, 1 heavy armor. And 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, it's enough value to kill it twice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah, he's dead. And does he hit anything on the way back? Survey says yes. Okay, we put UK back in its place, and USSR 63. 2 more to go before we clean out all these nuisances. Turkmenistan and then South Korea. 2 infantry fighters rolling at Turkmenistan. 1 hit, that's all we needed. They throw back with 1 infantry. Miss. And NATO is, why is it at 22? Yeah, that should be 21 unless I'm missing something, and my opponent will catch it if I am. It's probably me. Okay, South Korea. Okay, this one does make me a little nervous. No, they connect. Okay. Okay, just 1 back. No. Okay, so officially the NATO was expected to do 2 hits across the board and picked up only 1 kill. The US remains... Is that right? Yeah, Spain's worth 3, so now instead of being under by 2, they're over by 1. That's the new USA. Okay. And I think USSR is at 68. Normally it would be 69, but West Germany is, you know, the nuclear reduction from 4 to 3. So with China, that means we'll collect 72, but we got to do non-combat move. Let me do that real quick. Okay, I'm just probably going to do this in chunks, so let's do the first part first. Most obvious stuff first. Always the most obvious. So everybody who can get into West Germany, who's infantry, should, so that we abandon Switzerland, West Germany, Poland. All the armors that did that counterattack into Yugoslavia come up in here. We'll clean this up momentarily later. Just gotta get these pieces out of the way. Everything that can stuff Iran here. The armor comes back, the fighters come back, even the bomber comes back. Yeah, these 2 armors come down. Let's put an arrow in. 1, 2, actually... let's undo that. Yeah, just gonna do all this other stuff first. You come here, these fellows all move in south. Let's move south, 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 south. Yeah, I think we can kind of shuck. 1 moves here, 1 moves here, right? So click, let's just make it official. Click. Yeah, let's make it 2. Yeah. Next. Yeah, this fighter needs to go to West Germany. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and hedgehog Finland. So 6, 2, oops. Yeah, whatever. 8 in there now. 9 total. Komi comes south to Orel. The troops in Belarus will head into Poland. Yeah. And Romania will move into Poland. No, he cannot. Or should not. The fellow in Orel will move south to Georgia. Yeah, let's move 2 infantry from Iran to Georgia. Kind of the wrong direction, but I think it's a tax we gotta pay. And I think that's it, but you know, I'll reserve the right to make little adjustments after I do my placement, so let's move to the placement. Okay, I'm gonna just layer in the dead zone infantry. So Norway, Sweden, Greece, Komi, Kamchatka. Okay, I think that's that. Okay, now the blocks. Block of 4 for East Germany. Block of 3 for Poland. Block of 3 for West Germany. It would be 4 normally, but it got nuked, so we can only raise 3. Plus 2 for Romania. At least 1 for Belarus. I want 2 in Orel, so we're just kind of, it's just a ton of infantry, so can't place in Turkey or Georgia. 2 in Iran, of course. Click. Can't place in Turkmenistan. I feel like we should have 2 in Kazakhstan. We're definitely going to need at least, call it 3 in Russia. We need 1 in Baikal. Absolutely. Yeah, we should put 1 in Mongolia for access to China. Absolutely need 1 in the Urals just to pay the paratrooper tax. Put 1 in Baltic states because we can at this point. I think I guess I'll put 1 in Eastern Siberia because I'm nervous, and the other 5 will go in Ukraine, and I think that's it. Eastern Siberia. Full Ukraine, 6. Okay, we have 68 IPCs, and with China, that makes 72. Not quite as good as last turn, but yeah, well, we've definitely got a game here, at least for the moment. That third dimension can shake things up rather quickly. I made a few off-screen adjustments to the placement and a little bit of non-combat movement adjustment, but otherwise nothing major. Yeah, so yeah, the game looks pretty neck and neck. I don't know, maybe we should have attacked Pakistan after all on that turn when we had a better than even chance of blasting them. It remains to be seen. All part of the fun of playing East and West. Thanks for watching this. All the best from the good captain, and bye-bye.